Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining in with us today. I want to thank Alexander Bond with Alabama Care for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today. Today, I want to talk to you about my mental health. And the reason why I chose that topic is because this week rather, this month rather, is National Mental Health Month. And mental health is a very, very important uh, topic that we all need to take very, very serious. It affects millions and millions of people um, around the world there. And so we really want to focus on this topic this today. And so I am Lorenzo Brown, and I am the executive director of the Is Able Center located here in Birmingham, Alabama. And give me just a moment. I hit a link there. Sorry about that delay. So I am Lorenzo Brown. I'm the executive director of the Is Able Center located here in Birmingham, Alabama. You can look us up online at www.isable.org. That's isable.org and learn about all the various programs and services that we provide here in Birmingham, Alabama. So hopefully you guys can join some of our services in person. We are back open in person providing services. So hopefully you guys can join some of our services. So today let's talk about mental health. Mental health. And I want to kind of focus on mental health from a depression standpoint. Um, Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't hold a PhD or anything of that nature. But what I am an individual that has suffered with severe depression. And my depression was so severe that I contemplated suicide or even attempted suicide on multiple occasions. I'm so grateful that I did not succeed because I would not be alive today to be flowing in the purpose and operating in the purpose that I'm operating in now and touching the lives that I'm touching now. I wouldn't be married to my wife. My children would not have life. And so all of those things would have been cut short because of the mental health issues that I suffered with through depression. That's why I'm so passionate about the subject and so passionate about others who suffer with depression through mental health. And so let's talk about that. So depression is a devastating illness. It robs people of their energy, their sleep, their memory, their concentration, their vitality, their joy, their ability to love, to work, to play, and in some instances, even their will to live. That's what depression will do. Like I said earlier, it really robbed me of my will to live. And on multiple occasions, I attempted suicide. I mean, it was a very, very tough battle. It's not a battle that an individual can win alone. You really need some people around you who can help you work through the issues of depression when you're suffering mentally like that. Because the problem is that one thing that depression leads to, it leads to you being isolated. And when you're isolated, you really don't have anyone else to bounce your thoughts off of except yourself. And your mind is already so unhealthy that you're not able to really, process a healthy thought. And so in those moments of being isolated, you really lack that will to live, and it can result in you making some very um, bad decisions. And what suicide is pretty much a permanent solution to a temporary situation. Because, see, the situation that you're facing, it can change, but suicide cannot. And so that's why I really want to talk about this topic today. So, several factors contribute to the onset of depression, uh, including genetics. Sometimes it's a genetic trait passed down through family genetics, changes in hormone levels. Sometimes it's just a chemical imbalance that a person has that leads to depression. Medical conditions, stress, grief, difficult life circumstances. Any of these factors, alone or in combination, can affect the brain and lead to depression. And for me, uh, throughout my childhood, I was very depressed because of a lot of various life circumstances that I had faced early on as a child, and pretty much had to be exposed to some things that a child should not have had to be exposed to at such a young age, and it led to me being very depressed and really suffering depression throughout my whole childhood and teenage years. And then when I was shot at 17 years old and left paralyzed from my chest down to my feet and lost the ability, to feel or move anything, to control my bladder, my bowels, and give my own self a bath, put my own clothes on. Of course, that sunk me into a deeper stage of depression. And then I was taken out of my home and placed into a nursing home, and that sunk me into an even deeper stage of depression. So deep that I got to the point where, I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to bathe, I never wanted to get out of bed. I think I stayed in the bed probably close to a year and a half. I mean, every single day I was in a bed for about a year and a half because I was so depressed and I had no desire, no will to live. And it was a very, very tough battle. And I really suffered mentally as a result of it. So, depression commonly affects our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, and overall physical health. Here are some of the most common symptoms that point to the presence of depression. Here are some of the most common symptoms: sadness, um, hopelessness, guilt, moodiness, angry outbursts, um, a loss of interest in friends, family, and activities. Um, so if you're kind of experiencing some of those things, or a combination of those things, then chances are you're probably suffering mentally with depression, and you need to seek, some help with your mental health. And just to go on down my list, trouble concentrating, trouble making decisions, trouble remembering, thoughts of harming yourself, delusions or hallucinations can also occur in cases of severe depression. And I experienced all those things when I was very severely depressed. And the thing is that when a person is um, is having mental health issues in that way, they really can't process what's really occurring, with their life, in their mind, with their body. Why are they feeling so tired all the time? Um, why do they feel like, like there's this cloud over me? Why can't I ever experience any type of joy or happiness in anything that I participate in? Why is it when I am in a crowd of other people, I still feel like I'm all by myself? And you're trying to process those things, and when your mind is suffering, you know, you're not able to come up with the proper conclusion as to why you're suffering the way that you're suffering. And so that's why it's so important that you have people around you that can help you, work through the issues of depression when you're suffering mentally like that. So here are some other things. Withdrawing from people, substance abuse, missing work, school, or other commitments, attempts to harm yourself, tiredness or lack of energy, unexplained aches and pains, change in appetite. There can be a weight loss, there can be a weight gain, a change in sleep. You can begin to sleep too little, or you can begin to sleep too much. And that was a pretty broad list, but I just really wanted to lay it out and kind of really touch on all the ways that depression can affect you when you are suffering mentally. And so, as we get off into our conversation today, those of you who are online watching with us, if you have had some mental health issues, especially related around depression, I want you to put it inside of the comments, and I will check the comment box and discuss that with you. Also, if you know some other people, share with them, ask them to get online today, because I think that this will be a great thing for them to hear, to help them deal with any mental health issues as it relates to depression in their lives. This is a very serious topic. So we're going to talk about five practical ways that you can begin to um, combat depression inside of your life, okay? So number one, don't keep depression a secret. Don't keep depression a secret. If you are an individual and you are finding yourself, suffering with depression, you're having some mental health issues, and you are really struggling, don't keep it a secret. Um, there is no bigger myth in the world than thinking that, hey, if I reveal to somebody that I am depressed, that I'm suffering mentally in this way, then they're gonna look at me, look down on me, or uh, count me out, or look at me sideways, whatever. That's a myth. Don't think that. Really, to be honest with you, it to me it takes a stronger person to reveal that I am having issues, I'm struggling mentally, and I really need some help with what it is that I'm dealing with, and begin to seek out, the help that you need. Listen to me. Um, uh, the reason why you do not want to keep depression a secret is because a secret place is a place that people go to die. I'm telling you, secrets will kill you without making a sound. It's like a silent killer. I was watching this movie one time, and it was these three detectives, and they had been assigned to a special task force to capture this guy who was a terrorist, and they captured him in some kind of way while they had him locked up. His people broke in and broke him out, and all three of these detectives, they were so afraid to tell anyone that they had this man in custody, and then only to allow someone to break in and break him out. So they decided that we're just going to keep this secret between ourselves. We're not going to tell anybody that we had this terrorist, and we allow him to escape. And nobody ever knows what they said. He's probably going to go in a hole somewhere and bury himself, and he's never going to, peep his head out of that hole again. And so all three of them, they kept that secret, and 20 years went by. They hadn't heard anything from this man. And all of a sudden, after 20 years, this guy resurfaced and does another terrorist attack on United States soil. Of course, this is just a movie. This is not true story. But all three of those detectives had lived with that secret for over 20 years. And now that this secret had been brought to life, they all three committed suicide. One of them took an overdose. Another one took a gun and put it to his head and pulled the trigger. And Another one walked in front of a transfer truck and just killed himself because of the secret. They kept a secret. I'm telling you that a secret place is a place that people go to die. It's not a good place to be in when you're struggling mentally, especially when you're struggling with depression. You need to be as open as possible about what it is that you're dealing with. You need to seek out some family and friends and tell them that you're struggling. Um, Seek out a pastor or some type of person in your life that you can trust. Um, Also, seek professional help if you need it, a professional counselor or a professional psychiatrist, because it is a very, very serious matter. And when you keep it a secret, it can be very detrimental to you. So don't keep depression a secret. In my opinion, there are certain groups um, that are very vulnerable to keeping secrets. In my opinion, and I think that men in particular, are very vulnerable when it comes to keeping depression a secret, because men are really taught that they're supposed to be strong, that they're never supposed to show any signs of weakness. So if you are a man and you are listening today, let me tell you something, that it takes a stronger person to reveal that they are suffering. It takes you're not strong if you're suffering alone and you're not allowing anyone to help you. So don't be a statistic and think that because you are a man, you are showing signs of weakness if you reveal that you are suffering mentally. So I think also leaders, people who are in leadership positions, uh, presidents, executive directors, CEOs, pastors, people who are in leadership positions. This can also can be parents, mothers or fathers. If you are in some type of leadership role, I think that you are also very vulnerable to keeping depression a secret, because you are you're so used to leading people and you're used to people following your lead. And so if, you know, you probably feel that if I reveal to them that I am suffering mentally, that they're not going to want to follow me, they're not going to want to listen to me. And let me tell you something, nothing can be further from the truth, because what you got to understand is that there's probably a 100% chance that someone who's following your lead is suffering mentally as well. And you, as a leader, if you can openly reveal that you are having issues mentally, that you're suffering with depression, and then what it's going to do, it's going to give your followers inspiration, and encouragement to open up about the mental health issues that they're struggling with. So actually, you have a greater impact when you are open about issues that you are having mentally. So, number two, here's another way to deal with depression. You have to nourish and protect the brain. You have to nourish and protect the brain. And just from a nutritional standpoint, you have to get things like omega-3 fatty acids. Also, you have to, get a lot of physical activity. You have to really work on, getting your physical health, right. Start off, just doing some light walking, some light exercising, and just develop a good exercise routine. Begin to look at the various type uh, foods and beverages that you are putting inside of your body, and then just slowly make, you know, food and beverage changes to be more healthier as it relates to that. I know me myself, and every individual, is different as to, what they need from a nutritional standpoint. So you have to kind of identify that. I'm not going to give a list as to, or any type of recommendations as to what type of foods or beverages that you need to choose. But as for me personally, I had to eliminate, pork out of my diet. I had to eliminate beef out of my diet because it was affecting me from a physical standpoint where my body couldn't break it down. And so it began to make me so, um, physically tired and physically down, which led to me becoming mentally, depressed. And so I had to eliminate those things out of my personal diet so that I can feel better as an individual and feel better in life and operate, more effectively in life. Also, the I really don't drink anything but water. If I drink anything other than water, it may be some orange juice or cranberry juice or apple juice, something to that nature, maybe a sweet tea or lemonade, every now and then, but definitely not a lot. But the majority of what I put into my body from a beverage standpoint is clear water. And I can't tell you how much better I feel physically because of just some small changes that I made, in my diet, and it really helped me out, from a mental health standpoint, made me, think clearer and process things, in a clearer manner. Okay. So taking practical steps to be healed is just as important as taking spiritual steps to be healed. We'll take a lot of spiritual steps. We'll work on, our spiritual health, but we won't put as much emphasis on our physical health. So that's just as important as well. Okay, step number three, dealing with depression. Uh, Stop letting your mind wander and rest. Stop letting your mind wander and rest. So what I mean by that is oftentimes is when you're struggling with depression, your mind wanders and you begin to um, process a lot. You overthink everything that you are part of. You overthink every relationship that you're in. You have very low self-esteem. You lack confidence, and so anybody say anything, that is not uplifting or or not really what you wanted to hear. You think that it's negative. You think that it's towards you in some kind of negative way. And so you begin to overthink everything. Your mind wanders all the time. You never really take the time to rest, to let things go at night and rest the way that you should. And so when your mind is wandering and you're not resting, what happens is that, now your body is very, very tired and you're it's causing you to suffer even more mentally because your body is tired. You haven't rested. You haven't taken the time to rest the way that you need to. So listen to this here. Uh, a wandering mind that is weary will slip out of touch with reality and lose sight of the truth. A wandering mind that is weary will slip out of touch with reality and lose sight of the truth. What I mean by that is that, okay, if you're already suffering mentally and now you are physically exhausted as well because you haven't taken any time to sleep, that's literally like the devil's playground. He can just take advantage of the fact that you're weary, your mind is already weak, and now your body is weak too because you're physically tired. You haven't taken time to rest, to recoup in any type way. And so literally your mind literally like slips out of touch with reality. You don't see the value in life any longer. You don't see the value in the things that you have in your life. You don't see the good in your life anymore. You don't see, the good in the jobs you have anymore. You don't see the good in the home you have anymore. You don't see the good in the spouse that you have anymore. You don't see the good in the children that you have. Your mind is slipping out of touch with reality and you're losing sight of the truth. You're losing sight of the truth of all the good things that you really have going on in your life because you're so exhausted and you're slipping out of touch with reality. So you have to take time to rest so that you won't be so weary when you're battling mental health issues as a result to depression. Okay, number four, don't isolate yourself. Don't isolate yourself. It's very important that you're not isolated. As I stated earlier, when it comes to depression, um, that was one of my biggest mistakes. I isolated myself. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't let anybody in on the issues and struggles that I was having. I just really wanted to just lay in bed and cover my head up, you know, and didn't want to cut the lights on, didn't want to open the shades. I just wanted to be isolated. But let me tell you, an isolated place could very well be the most dangerous place to be in the entire world. I'm gonna say that again. An isolated place could very well be one of the most dangerous place to be in the entire world. Why do I say that? Think about it. Think about it. I don't care where you are. If you isolate yourself, you're in a dangerous place. You're already suffering mentally. Now you're isolated, and you're isolated alone with your own unhealthy thoughts. You have nobody to bounce those unhealthy thoughts off of. So you just bouncing your own unhealthy thoughts off of your own unhealthy mind. And so literally you just handing the enemy, an opportunity to cause you to do something that is going to take your life. And that's not good. That's not a good place to be in. It's not. You got to have people around you who has a healthy mind, who you can bounce those unhealthy thoughts off of, who can help you process the unhealthy thoughts that you are having. I tell you, there was a friend of mine. His name was David Bailey, and he became like my best friend. We were both paralyzed from our chest down to our feet. And the problem is that we was both very, very severely depressed. And we really wouldn't tell anybody. And so we decided that what we was going to do was just commit suicide. And so we got together one day and we started talking about ways that a quadriplegic could commit suicide. We said we was going to blow our brains out, but neither one of us could hold a gun or pull the trigger. We said that we was going to cut our wrists, but neither one of us could pick up the razor blade you know, and cut our wrists because of the way that our fingers were from being paralyzed. We said, well, we was going to, take a bottle of pills, but we couldn't take the top off the pill bottle. We said, well, we was going to jump off a building, but we couldn't get to the top of the building. And then we thought, well, even if we could, how are we going to get over that little ledge that's there? And I think back over that right now, and I really laugh about it now. It sounds so hilarious when I think about the fact that we was literally discussing ways that a quadriplegic could commit suicide. But back then, our mental health issues were so bad that 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 was the normal thought process. Like that we would literally sit there and think about ways that we could end our life because of the mental health issues that we were suffering with. And so we couldn't come up with a way that we could commit suicide. So we even got even more depressed. And I tell you this, the very next day, we were over at an apartment complex next door to the rehab facility that we were in. And we were sitting around the swimming pool. And as we were sitting around that swimming pool, it's like Satan gave us a bright idea that what we could do is that we could roll our wheelchairs into the deep end of that swimming pool and kill ourselves. That's how a quadriplegic could commit suicide. The only thing we needed to do was buckle our seatbelts in order to make that happen. And so we came up with a plan. And the very next morning, we woke up. We got the aide that was helping us get dressed, buckle our seatbelt, and we met up outside. And we're on our way to go and drown ourselves into the deep end of that swimming pool. And that's just how, you know, much we were suffering from a mental health standpoint. And before I continue on with that story, I want to get to our next point. Then I'm going to come back to finish out the remainder of that story. But I'm telling you this because we isolated ourselves. We wouldn't tell anybody about the mental health issues that we were struggling with. And so it led to the point where we didn't value life. Our thoughts were too unhealthy. We had no one to help us balance out the unhealthy thoughts that we were having. So it's very, very important that you don't isolate yourself. Relationships, they really matter. They really matter. Okay, point number 5, our last point that I want to touch on. So when you're dealing with depression, you want to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Let me read this to you. I wrote this down. Negative thoughts will slowly chip away at the walls of your mind until you have a mental breakdown. Positive thoughts will build the mind back up and strengthen it again. Let me say that again. Negative thoughts will slowly chip away at the walls of your mind until you have a mental breakdown. Positive thoughts will build the mind back up and strengthen it again. So, people who are struggling with depression, having mental health issues, their thought process is very negative, very, very negative. Um, they think that the worst about everything. They think the worst about everyone. And literally, those negative thoughts is just literally chipping away at the wall of their mind and breaking them down until literally they have a mental breakdown. So you have to replace those negative thoughts that you are having with positive thoughts, good things. Begin to intentionally search out the good things that are going on in your life. Begin to intentionally search out the good things that are going on around you. Begin to intentionally search for ways that you can be a part of positive things that are going on in the community, things that are going to, help fill, the void of those negative thoughts that you are having inside of your mind. Get out, volunteer at a local organization where you can, have a purpose where you're giving of yourself to something positive. This is going to help build you up back mentally. So you want, get to a point where you're having a mental breakdown. And so I want to come back to the story. So we're on our way to go and drown ourselves in this swimming pool. Right then, this is where I say we had a shift of mind, where we began to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So as we're on our way to go drown ourselves in this swimming pool, Dave, he turns to me and he says, Lo, why didn't anybody ever tell us about all of these different programs and services that exist before it got to this point? I said, man, I don't know. He said, well, man, somebody need to do something about it. I said, man, I said, what do you mean? He said, man, we need to call the president, the congressman, the mayor, somebody. They need to know that there are people with disabilities out here like us who are suffering, man, and we need help. And then it's like right there in that moment, a light bulb went off in my head. And I thought to myself, man, we need to do something about it. And Dave, he turned to me and said, how do we do that? I said, man, I don't know. Let's start some type of nonprofit organization or something. He said, how do we do that? I said, man, I don't know. Let's go to the library and find out. Here's the positive thing. We had to pass right by that swimming pool that we was just minutes away from drowning ourselves in to get to the library. So instantly, the moment a positive thought came, it built our mental health back up again. And that led to the opening of Is Able. That's how Is Able got started, from one positive thought. And now, years later, we're pouring into the lives of other people. There's no telling how many, thousands of people that we've touched throughout the world just from a change in thought in that very moment. So, what I'm saying to you is this: if you're having some mental health issues, you're struggling today, I want you to know that you have purpose. If you still have a pulse, you still have a purpose. There's no situation, there's no circumstance that you're facing right now that cannot change. Don't think that your life don't hold any value. Don't think that it's time for you to end your life, because that's not true. Nothing can be further from the truth. There's so much life left for you. So much meaning, so much value to your life, so much that you can add to this world, to your community, to the life of another individual. Tell your story, share your issues, seek out help. Don't let mental health issues destroy your life, take your life. We need you. Well, thank you all so much for signing on today. I really, really appreciate it. And Sanchita, I really appreciate you getting on. You're so welcome. And Sarah Williams, thank you for that comment there. I really, really appreciate you giving me that comment. Means a lot. And Gina, thank you. I really appreciate the comment that you gave as well. Well, thank you all so much for getting on today. Once again, I want to thank Alexander Bimes with Alabama Care for allowing me to share with you on this platform today. And I look forward to meeting with you all again on the second Monday of next month. You all have a great day.